Welcome to the Retail Reality Show.
More space than in the last talk, so I can dance a little bit. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Retail Reality Show. Today we are live here at LIGANOVA in Stuttgart, and it's actually a very important day for LIGANOVA because it's the 30th birthday. So congratulations and a round of applause for LIGANOVA. Today is also a very special day because I have a very special guest. More in a second. We have Christian. If you don't know the Retail Reality Show, we are a business podcast for decision makers in retail and the brand space. And we talk a lot about the macro and the micro and the macro environment in retail. So store design, experiential retail, personalization, AI, topic of the hour. But we also zoom out and look at retail from a more holistic point of view. So if you have not listened, I can only invite you to subscribe to the best podcast, at least in Europe, on retail. Okay, today it's a very special day for me because I have Christian Kuhn with me. Welcome, Christian.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Christian, you have a track record, I would say, in innovation. You worked for Mercedes-Benz or Daimler-Benz, how it was called earlier. Take us on your journey. What are you doing as head of innovation?
That's what I always get asked. Also, my family always asks, Christian, innovation, what is that, right? So I started my career in automotive, was there like 12, 13 years already. I was always into innovation, like developing something new. That was my passion.
Like building Lego, playing Lego?
Actually, I did when I was young, very much. Yeah, Lego was following me everywhere. So my father owns a construction business, so like building something was in my genes, maybe you can say. So at first it was new cars, new development of innovative vehicles, and Mercedes is quite sexy vehicle also. So I also need to like the product. Then it was shifting towards lean startup, design thinking, and bringing that to Mercedes-Benz. There was in the years of 2014-15, when almost every C-level was going to the Silicon Valley and came back enlightened, what we should do differently in Europe also. And then we innovated everything but beyond the car, the vehicle, but new business models. We were also experimenting with AI already back in 2015, and I was responsible for digital transformation. I have a affinity for everything digital also, so I always say like I can speak 3 languages. I speak creativity, technology, and business, so I can combine that.
Okay, so with Mercedes it was also a different kind of omni-channel. So you had physical, you have the showrooms, you have the car actually as a product, which has its own, I would say, reality. And then you were kind of working on the digital side, so pretty exciting, which you're now.
True. Yeah. So I convert a physical product in a digital experience layer, so to say, and I combine it. I think also you need to reinvent your business model all the time. Just purely focusing on selling a product, it's just not sustainable for the long time, right? You need to add some services around that and try also to build a community.
And probably that had the automotive industry should have started that earlier. Probably, if you look at Waymo, Uber, and all those services that have been created around, let's say, a core domain of our economy, automotive. So I hope we will catch up soon. So probably you can also give them a little bit of advice over there.
We are working heavily on that.
Yeah, I agree. So before we deep dive too much into the topic and what you do in innovation, icebreaker.
Oh, nice.
3 very simple questions, 5 seconds answer. Classical suit or tuxedo?
I'm more the classical suit guy, like also the jacket combined with jeans, like I just feel confident with that, right? But it depends on your mission. Also, if you want to have an impact and impress, the tuxedo is also a good choice.
I agree. So I probably am the tuxedo guy. Biodegradable fibers or recycled high-tech synthetic fibers?
I believe in regenerative materials. That's also my mission, like make the world a better place, like also sustainable, right? So biodegradable, of course, always, if it matched the performance. And that's still the innovation game that we need to tackle. Also, we are working heavily on that to replace polyester and match performance.
And actually, that's a very good call out. So your new line of suits, like I think it's called performance fabric, right?
Yeah.
I already slept in the performance fabric, and I looked like a fresh man after doing that. No wrinkles, perfect suit. So kudos to your product team.
You need to bring that to a LinkedIn story. The brand would be very happy about that.
Me waking up in
Was
high-tech
performance
fabric.
suit.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
We can just encourage you to look at that. It's available also for female and male. Yeah. And last question, smart mirror or virtual try-on at home?
I think why choose, right? So I love to try out things at home. Also virtual try-on. Currently it's just a gimmick a little bit. It doesn't tell you a lot. But if you try at home, you refine in store. And actually what matters is that the brand understands you wherever you shop across channels.
Very good answer. I'm completely with you, and I'm also a physical guy. So the podcast earlier today was about physical experiences. So I can see a lot of room for physical experience, and also our great services that LIGANOVA provides. Innovation. So I think innovation, we talked a lot about in the preparation for this podcast. Innovation is probably a buzzword, but at the same time, it's also, I would say, a look into the future of the company. You just mentioned business model innovation or renovation, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of people, if they look at innovation, they think about, I tried this startup, I picked this little use case, and I try this startup. Yeah? Like you said earlier with the Silicon Valley, and CEOs came back excited. But for me, innovation is bigger because it needs to be systematic, kind of an innovation operating system for a company. So I would be interested, how do you do that? How do you create, as head of innovation in this role right now, or also in your previous company, how do you do innovation in a systematic way and not just randomly pick interesting startups and use cases?
I would also add, I totally agree that innovation needs to be systematic, but it also needs to be intentional. You need to mean it, you need to want it. You need to know from the start what you want to achieve, right? And it sounds quite obvious, but you need to put the consumer in the middle, right? Back in the days, I worked a lot with Amazon. And Amazon is quite a fascinating company, right? How they push innovation. They always start with the consumer in mind and the customer in mind. Mm-hmm. Also, when they have a meeting, they leave one chair free for the customer. And they said, okay, what would the customer say to that? So that's a little bit the mindset you need. You start intentionally, also systematic, because at the end, you always do it for a consumer. You want to add value for someone, right? For a customer or for your internal teams. Your internal teams can also be your consumer. And you don't, I don't like it when you just push tech for tech's sake, right? And then there is like some years ago when there was everything about smart devices. Some people, some companies started to make every device smart. Mm-hmm. There's a funny story about a smart salt dispenser, right? And some people said it might be a good idea to have a salt dispenser with an app. You can like put in how many grams of salt you want to have from the salt dispenser. He said, okay, 3.2 grams, right? Mm-hmm. And it will pour the salt, and you can just put it out and then put it on your food. And it also had a Bluetooth speaker included, right? Fantastic. But actually it didn't solve any problem. So there was not a need for that. So it was just over-engineering. The same now happening with AI. They put AI in every product. So why do you need an AI-based toothbrush? Mm. What is it to add as a value? So you always need to start from the customer. How do you add value for that? And not just do tech for tech's sake.
Okay, so got it. You have to really want it, like you said. You have to probably also define KPIs where you say, hey, this is a really value add for the customer, mm-hmm. whatever you, or how you measure it, like higher conversion rate, better net promoter score, CSAT, or how do you measure that?
So measurement is, you always need to measure. At the early stage, it's more qualitative than quantitative, right? Mm-hmm. At a very early, you always start with a sequence, right? You start with a test, a pilot, a POC, then you have a feedback loop, and then you scale. But yeah, you always need to have that stage case in the middle, and I believe that. You need to move fast. And also, it's hard when I say that, but you also need to fall a little bit in love with killing your idea. You know, what is the critical questions that you need to answer? Sounds mean. Mm-hmm. Sounds mean, right? Because you love your product, right? Yeah. And at the same time, you need to kill it. It's a little bit in between, right? You need to have both, but find the KPIs that you want to achieve. And it's not just the obvious, like the click rates, the conversion and so on, but also how does this add to the brand loyalty? How does this elevate your brand? How does this add to your brand heat and the trust and or the community, right? There is also more qualitative aspects that a lot of people forget about it.
Okay, let's assume you're adding value for the consumer with your new idea, found the perfect tech, perfect setup, perfect startup, KPIs are ready. What's next? Because I guess all the companies you mentioned, they are not startups, they are enterprises, global businesses. How do you scale such a great idea into something that works in such a big machinery?
But you need to, there was an interesting study last year actually from BCG when they investigated the most innovative companies in the world, and they said never before it was a percentage of 83% of C-level said, I put innovation in the top 3 priorities of my company. But at the same time, they analyzed also the capabilities of those companies to actually do innovation, you said systematically or intentionally. It was just 3% to matching all the criteria. So now the innovation systems need reboot. And where it starts, you need to have skin in the game from the beginning. The C-level needs to put in skin in the game, then you need to do it intentionally. Money investment committed, but also know, why do I want to innovate? Where do I want to innovate? Do I want to innovate in my existing business? Do I want to go adjacent or more disruptive? What is my appetite? What is my risk appetite? Then it becomes easy to filter the topics also. What adds value for your company? Just putting out ideas is easy, but actually making a business model out of that's where it starts. You need to connect the dots beautifully.
Fill in the business model canvas in the end.
We did that like way back when I was in Mercedes. That it was a nice exercise, right? The business model canvas. But at the end, also, after the workshops, you put your post-its there. You roll it up and you forget it. And then you say, "Oh, did you take a photo of that, right? Oh, I forgot. Damn, right?" So it's a nice tool, but it's not the solution, right? It's not a one-fit solution. So it's just a framework that you need to do. It starts with the mindset. You need to mean it, right? You need to want it. You need to know what business model innovation is about.
When you look at your industry, so beforehand you worked for automotive for a long time, now you're in fashion. What would you say is the state of innovation in fashion?
Well, it's not so behind as you might expect. When I started the journey, I also thought, oh, what is there as innovation in fashion, right? Is it just new fabrics, new styles, new colors? So that's what you experience as innovation, or new materials. Yeah. But actually, technology is hitting also fashion quite hard, also in the whole operational business. I started 3.5 years ago, and it was all about metaverse, blockchain, and NFTs, and so on. It was a huge hype, and now it's all about AI. And I think fashion can be at the forefront of AI. How do you connect on a very deeply personal level to your consumers to also get beyond fashion, go beyond the point of sale? So after purchase services is such a huge untapped potential so far that I see. So I think fashion is doing quite good, but there is still a lot of improvement. But it can be very much in the driving seat for a lot of technologies right now.
And where do you see the biggest potential for AI? If you take the consumer journey from awareness to acquisition, transaction, service, loyalty, and maybe even before supply chain, where would you say where are the biggest levers?
Supply chain, definitely. Currently, I see AI is happening, if you want to simplify it, in 3 waves. We are currently in wave number 1, where it's all about efficiency, productivity, making things leaner. That's all your operations, affecting your processes, right? Next wave is also coming, and it's actually not generating faster processes, leaner, cheaper processes, but better output. And the third wave is everything that's autonomous. Automated AI agents will drive the business. But it starts now with operations. But I also see in consumer engagement, like touching consumers on a very deeply personal level. That's also the power of AI, right? I know that some companies in Asia, for example, I think we definitely need to look east. What they're doing there with AI is fascinating. So I know a company who reached out to 100 million of consumers in a very individualized newsletter where the text and the pictures in the newsletter are very much personalized, almost like a segment to one, like a one-on-one relationship. And that's the beauty of AI. You can do that on a mouse click.
That's interesting. I have not heard of that. And I think the whole world was looking in the other direction, US with OpenAI and all those big players. I think they were leading the pack until DeepSeek came. And all of a sudden people were like, oh, Asia, there's also Asia. So that's probably a good reminder that there's also a lot of interesting stuff happening. You mentioned segment of one and personalization. That is, I would say, a big topic in fashion, more in the consumer journey. Where is your head, your mind around that? Can you maybe give us a few use cases in fashion where this...
For personalization?
Yeah.
So I mentioned one, like images, text, how you communicate also in a newsletter. But also like product, right? We developed an app who is actually your personal AI assistant in your pocket, but builds on your digital wardrobe. So the AI understands you. It knows what you own, what you wear, when you wear it, why you wear it.
How does it do that? So take pictures and then...
Yeah. So the first step to upload everything in your wardrobe is a little bit a mess, but also technology will solve it, right? You can just scan it, and also later on, if you purchase, it comes everything with digital twin. So this will be solved soon, right? But if you know what you own in your wardrobe, and I can give you better style recommendations. Imagine you are invited to a wedding in Tuscany. You say, "Oh, I'm invited for a wedding in Tuscany. What should I wear?" And it can give you on a very deeply personal level because it understands you, what you just wear, what colors you like, an outfit. And it says you also, oh, by the way, 60% of that outfit you have already in your wardrobe. But the rest of the 40% you can get here with our partners, right? And then you start not to buy more, but buy better, right? Just what is also elevating your style. How can you tell your personal story? That's how deep it can go with AI, that you can express yourself.
Because you start from a need, basically. Tuscany, you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I think that was in the old world, that's what was really hard, also from my point of view, working at a big tech company. Traditional chatbots were quite dumb, actually, because you had to draw a decision tree. You have to make sure that this thing understands the intent. And sometimes it was very hard to tell the bot, where's my order? It's the same, where's my package? Where's my gift? Where's my present? That's all the same order management question, and then you have to alter the order. In the new world...
We all know that, right, when we're waiting for a DHL package.
Exactly.
Right? Where is it?
Where is it? Exactly. And those emails, by the way, have 70, 80, 90% open rate. That's a big opportunity for brands to personalize. But that's a different topic. But my point was, in these days, it's very easy because those LLM-powered bots or agents, as we call them, understand the context very easily because it's a prompt. But they also understand what is Tuscany. Tuscany related, what's the temperature there? And then obviously you have to bring in Nino, or you're the tuxedo guy, right? The classical guy. I'm the tuxedo guy.
Yeah, you are.
So I think that's where a lot of things are enabled.
And just imagine that. If we build this app, right, and we learn about millions of customers, what they own, what they have in their wardrobe, what they long for on each specific day, right, and why they have their favorite pieces, their favorite jacket, and so on. We can also bring that back to product development, right? That data. You can just also leverage that for your distribution efforts, right? You know, not just the style in Germany versus UK, but also Stuttgart versus Munich versus Karlsruhe versus Mannheim versus, like, on a very deeply level, very detailed level, you know what people like and where they like it. And you can serve customers much better. And we are much more enabled to bring the right product at the right place at the right time.
That's a very interesting thought. I haven't thought about that because so typically always the other way around. But serving that data back, I think, is quite...
You can circle that data back if you because AI is currently lacking to solve the very fluid fashion and style area, right? Style and fashion is very fluid. It changes, right? Yeah. And you need to also anticipate like that. What is currently the cultural moment? What is a brand vibe? What is an emotional resonance of customers, right? But if you have that, you get all that data from the customers in that app, right? And you enrich it also with an AI agent and other data points. You have a much more integrated, intelligent data set that you can, I call it currently a fashion AI model. It's not there, right? But that is inspiring, right? What can you do with that? You can basically use the data to leverage all your value chain from sourcing, right, to after sales.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting aspect. Many companies I work with, I see in the market, they look at AI a lot as I can automate stuff because customers are asking stupid things like, where's my order? How can I get a refund? The FAQs, everybody knows them. But if you do a smart job as a brand, you get a lot of data because those chatbots out there, agents, they feel very natural. You can talk to them and actually you get good feedback in a natural language. They are smart. They know the data. So I think there's a big opportunity to get a lot of data that you would not have gotten out of a customer with the stupid chatbot.
True. And the basic job you need to do there is you need to make the consumer feel understood. What I said earlier, right? Whether I'm shopping at our e-com store or I go into retail store, right? I want them to have the same data to knowledge, right? What do I like on e-com? Maybe they know my wish list already. And when I enter the store, they say, "Hey, Christian, we waited for you." Like literally, right? Oh, we put your jacket that you have just put on your wish list. Yeah. We put it in the wardrobe, right? We put it there.
From a data perspective.
And by the way, we also added one piece you couldn't find online so far. How cool is that, right? Yeah. You feel understood when you enter the store, and you build a much more deeper connection to people. But therefore, you need that unified commerce data platform.
That's actually a nice omnichannel example, I think, which leverages AI data but puts a smile on the customer's face in a physical world where we have talked a lot about during that day. Because we talked a lot about AI and the role of AI as being a companion to the customer, giving better style advice, like you mentioned Tuscany and the wedding. If we fast forward a little bit and we chatted about that, future consumers, and personally, I play a lot around with Gemini, with Agent Force, with Manos, a personal agent that you can train, like your personal concierge next to you, your AI. Everybody can have basically an Alfred in the future that is trained on your data, on Nino, knows my preference, knows my shoe size, knows my birthday, all the private things, all the more public things. And then I can task this agent, and all of a sudden brands like your brand are confronted with the Nino agent that is approaching. That is probably not so receptive anymore to marketing message, personalization. What's your view on that? How do brands need to be prepared? Because this is a more, I would say, very technical connection between two bots talking to each other, but in the end, brand is also a very emotional thing. What's your point of view?
That's a super important question, right? You need to prepare for now what's coming. How do you target consumers in the future of AI? Currently, everybody's putting on SEO, right? You put like, you want to be ranked in Google very high, but what if you ask ChatGPT to or Manos? You mentioned that, an interesting tool, super interesting. You should all test it out and create your own personal assistant there. Try to automate processes. But what it also can do, AI can do tasks, right? It can make actions. On the next level, it can also buy products for you. You know, if you say, look at that T-shirt, right? It's like, hey, buy a new T-shirt for me. And what are the attributes? It's the color, it's the shape, the fit, right? It's the material. It's maybe a sustainability score. It's maybe, but all attributes that are not brand related. And this is interesting. You can also circle that back. What does it mean for brand loyalty in the future? You know, if an AI agent buys a product for you, not based on a brand, but on some attributes, quality, price value, right? That we love in Germany, right? We always want our Preis-Leistungs-Verhältnis. have done, right? We love that.
Love that, yeah.
Yeah, we love that. Everybody loves it. So, but if you have this, right, brand is maybe not that important anymore. So how should brands react to that? So you need to switch from now already from SEO to generative engine optimization, and try to find also in your product description page the keywords that an LLM can track, can tackle, right? You need to address that today. But also what gives me a little bit hope is the human behind that also. So we are all a little bit greedy, right? And also those AI companies are a little bit greedy, so they will also want to get paid for ranking higher. So this could also be a little bit of hope about it.
And I think you're touching also on a very important point. Greedy or ranked higher. I mean, that's a method of traditional advertising. We have all the big platforms like Google and Meta and all those, TikTok and all those players. I think AI will also have a big impact on those people. If I pick Meta, I think they're not a non-profit company when they develop a non-profit or open source model, Llama. I think they have a purpose behind that, or what do you think? What's the future or the innovation in that advertising space?
I think Meta is a super interesting company. You know, a lot of people were laughing a little bit like 3 years ago when they switched to the new company named Meta, but they put a lot of metaverse, right? They made their lessons right now, putting everything on AI. They do it very well. Just read yesterday also an article that they have acquired some very intelligent people on AI from Apple also, and they did also from OpenAI, right? So they just grouped the best people in the world to do that. Today, Meta for me is a ad campaign company, right? But in the future, there will be like your real-time creative lab, right? And they can do much more. They can like create an advertising for you. They create content for you. They can create different versions of it and test it to different types of consumer groups in real time, get feedback, adjust it, and put your budget that you placed there on the top performing ad. You know, very much automated. The interesting part, how do you approach this as a brand? Because I believe in a brand, you still need creativity with context. You know, you need to give the AI also. You cannot just let the AI drive themselves on autopilot. You need to give them a smart map how they can navigate. What is your assets? What is your brand voice? Your tone, right? Yeah. What is the consumer you want to attract? You need to put that all in there and not just trust the AI to do that, but Meta has a huge potential and also very alarming for a lot of agencies out there. So it will be an interesting battle.
Yeah, because typically what you do as a brand, you go to the agency and they know the segments and they know they kind of use your budget wisely and distribute it. But obviously what Meta is saying, we have the segments, we know what those people are doing, we can bring you those segments, but we can also create the perfect message for that audience. We can create the perfect picture for that message, and we can tell you in real time how this is performing and change. Like I think that's a company definitely to watch. I agree.
Totally, and all the agencies out there, for me, they still have the benefit that they are, if they are, no cultural moments. You know, this is a cultural moment here and there. AI cannot grasp it because it's very fluid, what I said before, right? And if you also know the brand vibe and the emotional resonance to a brand, to a product, that's still tasks agencies led by humans can add as a value, and they can still have relevant business out there.
Great. So I think to summarize what we heard or what I heard today, I learned a lot about AI, future role of the agency. I learned how enterprise is innovating systematically and not just picking use cases. Maybe just one last question, when we always ask the same question at the end. If you have 15 seconds with a fictitious CEO or with your CEO, what's your advice?
So I would say every CEO needs to own the transformation. You cannot delegate that. You need to have skin in the game. You need to be there. You need to think big, but act small and test fast. And always ask yourself, what is the value we add for our customers? What is the human impact that we can create with this?
Great. Convinced.
Sold.
Sold. Great. Christian, thank you very much. That was a very insightful, interesting, exciting talk. Round of applause for Christian from here. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great rest of the evening, and enjoy the drinks, and subscribe to our podcast.